Millionaire brings mistress to event, pregnant wife, arrives with powerful CEO and steals spotlight. Trouble loomed like thunderclouds, even after Charlotte Blackwood's triumphant moment of independence. Though she made a stunning exit from the gala and welcomed her newborn son without Adrian's presence, peace was short-lived. Whispers of hidden agendas, corporate betrayal, and simmering resentment trailed her every step. Meanwhile, Adrian seethed with regret and unresolved anger, his hold on the Blackwood empire slipping further each day. And as for Bianca, her true nature began to unravel in the face of mounting scandals. Little did anyone suspect the tangled webs of deception awaiting them all. Now, in the aftermath of public disgrace and private heartbreak, the real battle for redemption and revenge would begin. Sunlight spilled through the hospital window in gentle beams, illuminating Charlotte's tired face as she cradled her newborn. Michael James Blackwood, only a few days old, he was a tiny bundle of hope amid the tumult that had overtaken her life. Outside her hospital room, the world raged with tabloid speculations. Had Adrian visited his newborn son? Would Charlotte continue living at the Blackwood estate? Where did Christopher Hart fit into this story of betrayal and ambition? Lucy Walters, Charlotte's steadfast friend and PR manager, stood quietly beside the bed, glancing at messages on her phone. "You look better," she observed, noticing the faint color returning to Charlotte's cheeks. Charlotte gently ran her thumb along Michael's soft cheek. "He gives me strength," she whispered. "Even if everything else is chaos." Lucy nodded. Adrian's lawyer reached out, she said tentatively. "They're concerned about potential custody issues. It seems Adrian wants to negotiate, though they're vague about details." Charlotte's eyes flickered with hurt. "Negotiate? He's barely shown his face since Michael was born, and now he wants to bargain for rights?" Lucy softened. "Remember, it doesn't mean he'll go through with an aggressive custody battle, just that he's raising the possibility." Exhaling, Charlotte gazed down at Michael. The last thing she wanted was a legal war with the baby's father, but she also knew Adrian well enough to anticipate manipulations. "I'll deal with that later," she said, pressing a kiss to her son's forehead. "For now, I just need peace." Her phone pinged. It was Christopher Hart. She read his text, "How are you and the baby holding up? Let me know if you need anything anytime." The warmth of his concern spread through her. She texted back a simple thank you. "We're safe and resting." She didn't want to lean too heavily on Christopher, but his steady kindness felt like a lifeline. A day later, Charlotte was discharged. Lucy insisted on driving her back to the Blackwood estate, while a private nurse rode in the back seat to keep watch over Michael. The estate loomed large as they pulled up the winding driveway. Charlotte remembered the countless times she had gazed upon these columns and manicured gardens with pride back when life felt secure. "Are you sure you want to stay here?" Lucy asked gently, cutting the engine. "It's not too late to find a private apartment." Charlotte glanced at the nurse beside her. With Michael so young, moving to an unfamiliar place felt daunting, especially given her healing body. "For now, I'd rather stay put," she said. "I've got staff I trust here. I'll decide later if we need to move." Inside, the marble foyer was quiet. Most of the staff were waiting in a respectful row: housekeepers, security guards, even the chef. They offered subdued welcomes and congratulatory remarks about the new baby. Charlotte felt their sympathy and loyalty, a contrast to Adrian's recent absence. She headed upstairs, with Lucy carrying the baby in his carrier. The freshly decorated nursery was a haven of pastel blues and soft toys, the cradle adorned with a fluffy canopy. Setting Michael down, Charlotte felt an unexpected wave of relief. "At least my child has a place of comfort here, even if the rest of this house is full of ghosts," she thought. Down the hall, Adrian's study door was ajar, but he was nowhere to be seen. In the corners of her mind, she braced for the confrontation that was sure to come. That confrontation arrived sooner than she expected. The following morning, Charlotte woke early to feed Michael and decided to stroll the garden. She hoped fresh air might steady her nerves before the avalanche of legal documents likely to arrive. As she circled the central fountain, she noticed Adrian stepping out of his car, a briefcase in hand. He paused, locking eyes with her across the lawn. Then he crossed the distance with slow, deliberate steps. She braced herself, cradling Michael protectively in her arms. "You look well," Adrian said stiffly, hands shoved into his pockets. His gaze flickered to the baby. "How is he?" Charlotte looked down at Michael's sleeping face. "He's perfect," she replied, ignoring the swirl of anger and hurt in her chest. "He's everything I need right now," Adrian swallowed. "I'd like to see him," he said. Privately, Charlotte measured his words. For all his failings, Adrian was still Michael's father. Cutting him off entirely could backfire. She gestured toward a nearby bench under a rose trellis. "Fine, but just for a few minutes. I don't want him disturbed." They sat, carefully handing the bundled infant to Adrian. His expression turned almost reverent for a moment, eyes softened by an emotion Charlotte rarely witnessed in him anymore. "He looks like you," he murmured. Silence stretched between them as Adrian carefully held Michael. Then, clearing his throat, Adrian spoke. I need to apologize," he began, though his voice lacked confidence. "Things have spiraled. I never meant to harm the foundation or you. It all got out of hand." Charlotte's pulse quickened. "If you're sorry," she replied evenly, "then do what's right for Michael. End these public scandals. Stop letting Bianca cause havoc." Adrian's grip on Michael tightened defensively. "Bianca's not the root of every problem. She's complicated, yes, but I can manage her." A bitter laugh nearly escaped Charlotte's lips. "You've already lost the respect of half the donors, Adrian. Your name is linked more to nightclub brawls and tabloid rumors than philanthropy. If you truly cared, you'd—" He cut her off, raising one hand. "Enough, Charlotte. I'm here, aren't I?" Trying to make amends. She watched him carefully. He looked exhausted, the stubble on his chin hinting at restless nights. Perhaps he genuinely regretted his choices, or perhaps this was another ploy. Michael stirred, and Charlotte quickly reclaimed him, pressing him close. "Amends or not, I won't let you drag Michael into your spiral," she whispered, voice quivering. "I'm giving you the chance to be his father. Don't ruin it." Adrian's eyes flickered with anger, but he managed a curt nod. Without further argument, he rose and walked away, leaving Charlotte alone with her sleeping child. In the crisp morning air, she closed her eyes, wondering how much of Adrian's remorse was real and how long it would last. Back inside, Charlotte found Lucy in the living room, scrolling through news stories on her tablet. "You won't believe the latest about Bianca," Lucy said, eyes wide. "Reports say she got into another fight, this time at a private club. Supposedly, she's been blacklisted from several high society events." Charlotte sank onto the couch, Michael in her arms. "How does Adrian not see the havoc she causes?" Lucy shrugged, frustration evident. "He thinks he can control her, probably. But from what I gather, her real nature's starting to show. And it's not just about partying. She's rumored to be reaching out to wealthy men in discreet messages, hinting she's ready to move on if they make it worth her while." Charlotte mulled this information over. Part of her felt a grim satisfaction Bianca might finally pay for her arrogance. Another part worried that if Bianca self-destructed, she might try to take Adrian and, by extension, the foundation down with her. "Keep an eye on it," Charlotte said to Lucy. "The last thing we need is another scandal. Meanwhile, I'll focus on ensuring the foundation's finances are secure. We need to shield it from Adrian's chaos." Lucy nodded. "That's wise. We've already had 2 donors ask if you'd be willing to manage their contributions independently of Adrian's accounts. Charlotte's eyebrows rose. Really? That's a good sign. It means they trust my leadership. Yes, but it also sets up a potential conflict if Adrian feels we're circumventing him. Charlotte gently stroked Michael's tiny hand. She thought of the philanthropic empire she had worked so hard to build, how dear it was to her sense of purpose. He can start that fight if he wants, she said quietly, but I won't let him sabotage everything just to satisfy his pride. The next week, a storm of paperwork descended upon the estate. Adrian's lawyer, a stern man with impeccably combed silver hair, arrived unannounced to speak with Charlotte. Lucy insisted on being present, as did Charlotte's own lawyer, Margaret Choi, a sharp-minded professional who had guided the Blackwood Foundation through many deals. They convened in the estate's study, the walls lined with mahogany bookshelves that once symbolized Adrian's ambitions. Now they felt like silent witnesses to a fractured marriage. Adrian's lawyer placed a thick envelope on the table. "We propose a formal custody arrangement," he began in a polished tone. "Mr. Blackwood requests partial custody rights weekends at a minimum and a schedule for holidays." Charlotte's heart pounded. "He's barely been around Michael since his birth," she stated. "And what about the environment he's taking him into? Bianca's temper, the paparazzi at their doorstep, none of that is safe for a newborn." Adrian's lawyer gave a thin smile. "My client would ensure the child's well-being at all times. Any negative press around Miss Moretti is unproven speculation." Margaret calmly interjected. "My client wants to protect her son from scandal and instability, especially while he's so young. We propose supervised visits until Mr. Blackwood demonstrates a stable home environment." Tension rippled through the room. Adrian's lawyer leaned forward, clasping his hands. "That arrangement would humiliate my client, implying he's an unfit father." Charlotte's eyes flashed. "He's shown me nothing to prove otherwise. I'm open to him having a relationship with Michael, but not if it risks my child's safety or well-being." They argued back and forth, hashing out potential compromises. By the end, they reached a temporary arrangement. Adrian could visit Michael in the estate under Charlotte's supervision, with the option to renegotiate once the baby was older. Adrian's lawyer left in a huff, promising a more formal legal approach if Charlotte refused to budge in the future. When they were gone, Charlotte closed her eyes, feeling drained. "I never wanted it to come to this," she murmured to Margaret and Lucy. "I always hoped Adrian would be better." Lucy rubbed her back gently. "I know, but now we protect you and Michael." "That's our priority," Margaret gathered her documents. "Exactly. I'll file the relevant papers in court. In the meantime, remain vigilant. Adrian might escalate things." While Charlotte wrestled with custody, Christopher Hart made discreet overtures to the Blackwood Foundation. One afternoon, she received a call from Christopher himself. "Charlotte," he greeted, warmth in his tone. "How are you and the little one?" "We're managing," she replied, smiling despite herself. "Michael's a handful, but every moment with him is precious." "I'm glad," Christopher said sincerely. "Listen, I wanted to discuss a philanthropic partnership. My board at Phoenix Global Tech is launching a new line of medical software for pediatric hospitals. If we align with the Blackwood Foundation, we could expand these services significantly." Charlotte's heart lifted. Such a partnership would bring cutting-edge care to countless children. "That sounds incredible," she said. "But we need to tread carefully. Adrian still holds nominal authority over the foundation. If he sees me moving forward without his input, it might spark a legal or financial fight." Christopher paused. "Understood. Maybe I can meet with both of you. I'll put the focus on the Foundation's mission so he won't feel sidelined." The thought of a joint meeting with Adrian tugged at Charlotte's anxiety, but the potential benefits were too immense to pass up. "Set it up," she agreed, swallowing her apprehension. I'll do my best to keep things civil. A day later, a meeting was scheduled at Phoenix Global Tech Sleek headquarters in Midtown Manhattan. When Charlotte arrived with Lucy, she found Adrian already seated in a glass-walled conference room, drumming his fingers on the table. Bianca was nowhere in sight, a small mercy. Christopher welcomed them, projecting an air of calm professionalism. He explained the new pediatric medical platform in detail, emphasizing how the synergy with the Blackwood Foundation's network would revolutionize children's healthcare. As he spoke, Charlotte's eyes lit up. It was exactly what she had dreamed of, bridging technology and compassionate care on a global scale. Throughout the presentation, Adrian remained quiet, though his expression soured each time Christopher addressed Charlotte directly. When it came time for questions, Adrian finally spoke. "So, you propose merging philanthropic arms? Or do you just want our name attached for PR?" Christopher's demeanor remained unruffled. "This is genuine collaboration," he said. "The Blackwood Foundation's reach is significant, and I believe in Charlotte's vision. The synergy would be beneficial to all." Charlotte felt a spark of defiance. "My vision, something Adrian used to embrace, but has since undermined." She added diplomatically, "This could restore credibility to the foundation, Adrian. Show donors we're forward-thinking." Adrian glanced at her. "Yes, well, I'll consider it. I'd like time to review the documents." He stood abruptly, gathering papers. "We'll be in touch." He left the room with a curt nod, leaving Christopher and Charlotte exchanging uncertain glances. Even Lucy wore a puzzled frown. The seeds of partnership were sown, but Adrian's approval was key. A volatile factor indeed. While Adrian entertained illusions of control, Bianca Moretti's life was unraveling. She found her invitations to elite parties revoked. Designers stopped sending her free gowns. Even her social media endorsements dried up, sponsors wary of her erratic behavior. One late evening, Bianca sat in her lavish penthouse suite at a boutique hotel. She stared at a bottle of expensive champagne, toying with the notion of calling a new benefactor to rescue her from impending financial ruin. Her phone buzzed. It was a gossip columnist friend. "Bianca, darling," the voice purred. "Any juicy scoop on Adrian? People say he's creeping back to Charlotte now that there's a baby." "Are you two even still together?" Her jaw tightened. "We're fine," she lied, forced cheer in her voice. "He's just preoccupied with the foundation." "I'm planning a trip with him soon," the columnist giggled. "Ooh, hope you get that private island after all." "Keep me posted, sweetie." Then the line went dead. Bianca tossed her phone on the couch, staring at the skyline through the window. She had bet everything on Adrian's wealth, expecting to be the next headline, grabbing power couple. But she found herself stuck on the fringes. Adrian didn't lavish attention on her anymore. He rarely even stayed the night, citing foundation business and storms of negative press he had to manage. A surge of fury gripped her. Charlotte took what should have been mine, his respect, the status, everything. Bianca thought of one final card she could play, leverage the secret she'd gleaned from Adrian. After all, he had grown comfortable around her once, bragging about shady deals, questionable alliances. If the media caught wind of them, Adrian's reputation, already hanging by a thread, would be reduced to tatters. But she hesitated. Blackmailing Adrian might yield short-term cash, but it could also obliterate any lingering future with him. Then again, if she didn't secure her next step, she risked fading into irrelevance, a fate she refused to accept. Despite Adrian's aloof departure from Phoenix Global Tech, the proposed collaboration pressed on. Christopher arranged a second meeting, this time inviting both Adrian and Charlotte to an exclusive fundraiser at a Manhattan skyscraper. The event catered to potential donors who might support the joint healthcare initiative. Charlotte arrived in a sleek black cocktail dress, her first evening outing since giving birth. Nervous, she left Michael in the care of the estate's trusted nurse. Adrian appeared soon after, looking immaculate in a tailored suit, but his expression was distant. As they stood side by side before stepping onto the stage to address donors, an odd sense of familiarity brushed over Charlotte. We used to do this together, effortlessly presenting a united front. Now the air between them felt strained. On stage, Christopher introduced them as two leaders with a shared passion for children's health. Charlotte noticed Adrian manage a polite nod of agreement, though a flicker of annoyance lingered in his eyes. When it was her turn to speak, Charlotte spoke with heartfelt conviction about the importance of investing in pediatric software and facilities. She highlighted how technology could bridge gaps in care for rural hospitals, saving countless lives. The applause that followed felt genuine, a testament to her credibility. Adrian stepped up next, delivering a short but efficient speech about funding and resources. For the briefest moment, Charlotte glimpsed the man she once knew, confident, eloquent, aligning his message with hers. They shook hands with donors, accepted pledges, and even took a joint photograph with Christopher. By evening's end, the joint initiative garnered significant interest and a sizable preliminary donation. Afterwards, as they left the venue, Charlotte paused Adrian near the elevator. "We worked well tonight," she acknowledged, though her tone remained guarded. "This is what it could be if you focused on the foundation and family, not the drama." Adrian pressed his lips together, uncertain. "I admit it felt right," he said quietly, "but I can't just snap my fingers and fix what's broken." "Bianca," Charlotte's shoulders tensed. "Yes, Bianca. How long will you let her overshadow everything else? Do you realize how much you stand to lose?" He didn't respond. The elevator doors slid open, and they descended in silence. Charlotte clutched her evening bag, her heart heavy with mixed emotions. Perhaps there's a sliver of hope left for his redemption, she thought, but only if he chooses it. As the collaborative initiative gained traction, the dynamic between Adrian and Charlotte shifted. For public appearances, they maintained a respectful, almost professional relationship. Behind closed doors, tension rippled whenever the conversation veered toward Bianca or custody arrangements. Charlotte allowed Adrian supervised visits with Michael twice a week, carefully monitored by Lucy or the estate staff. Despite the distance, Adrian seemed determined to bond with his son, even bringing small toys and rocking Michael to sleep on occasion. "Maybe fatherhood's changing him," Lucy observed one afternoon as Adrian left the estate. Head hung low. He had just spent an hour comforting Michael during a bout of colic. "He seems more present." Charlotte shrugged. "He's on better behavior," she conceded. "But I can't forget the damage he's caused, or the damage Bianca still might cause." Indeed, Bianca's spectre loomed. Rumors circulated that she was meeting with unscrupulous journalists. Allegations swirled of her compiling dirt on the Blackwood Empire. Charlotte felt sick imagining how far Bianca's vendetta might go. Adrian, however, waved away the rumors whenever Charlotte confronted him, calling them empty threats. Meanwhile, Christopher's partnership with the Blackwood Foundation flourished. His sincerity and financial heft reassured donors who were once wary. In quiet, unspoken ways, Christopher's presence also became a comfort to Charlotte. They had not ventured into anything romantic. Her divorce from Adrian was still unfiled, and her emotional wounds were fresh. Yet, a gentle closeness formed between them, nurtured by late-night phone calls and heartfelt texts. A part of Charlotte often wondered, could there be a second chance at love far down the road? Bianca decided it was time to play her final card. On a night when Adrian was due to visit Michael, she appeared at the Blackwood estate unannounced. Slipping past the gate guard with her own set of keys, courtesy of Adrian's earlier trust, she found him pacing in the foyer, about to head upstairs to see the baby. He froze at the sight of her. "Bianca, you shouldn't be here," he snapped. I told you I needed space. She approached, her high heels clicking on the marble floor. Too bad, she said, crossing her arms. We need to talk. Adrian glanced around anxiously, conscious that Charlotte might appear at any moment. He ushered Bianca into a side parlour, shutting the door behind them. Make it quick, he hissed. Bianca tossed her hair back, letting out a sharp laugh. Look at you, acting all holier than thou. You wouldn't be so righteous if the world knew the skeletons in your closet, like those questionable investments you bragged about, or the hush money you paid some ex-employees. Adrian's face paled. Those were, all businessmen make strategic moves, he countered weakly. She dug into her purse, pulling out a folder. You see, I documented everything. Signed checks, bank transfers, photos, even that hush contract. If the media gets this, your precious foundation collapses. And Charlotte, she'll see you for the fraud you really are. Anger and dread warred inside him. What do you want? He demanded. I want financial security, she said bluntly. Pay me enough to live comfortably. Keep me in the lifestyle I deserve. And do it now, or I release everything. Adrian clenched his fists. The idea of handing over more money to this woman he now resented made his blood boil. But the alternative, a scandal that would ruin the foundation and tarnish even Charlotte's philanthropic efforts, was unthinkable. How much? He finally asked through gritted teeth. She named a figure that made him recoil. That's absurd, he growled. Bianca shrugged, stepping closer. Consider it a bargain. Once I'm set up, I'll disappear. You can pretend I never existed. Adrian's mind spun. If he didn't comply, the fallout would be catastrophic for him, for Charlotte, for the foundation. And yet, paying Bianca off might be equally disastrous. He stood there, trembling with fury, knowing he was cornered. Unbeknownst to either of them, Charlotte had come downstairs with Michael, hoping to let Adrian have a brief moment with his son before bedtime. Hearing tense voices in the parlour, she lingered near the door. Curiosity piqued. At the mention of hush money, her heart skipped a beat. She inched closer, pressing her ear gently against the door. Inside, Bianca's voice dripped with derision. The hush contract, the hidden accounts. I don't think Charlotte would be too pleased if this all came to light, do you? Charlotte's stomach twisted. Adrian's secret deals? Hush contracts? She recalled the months of hush-hush expansions he'd claimed were perfectly legal. Had he truly endangered the foundation with under-the-table transactions? She fought the urge to burst in. Instead, she eased back, her heart pounding. She hurried to Lucy's room, breath ragged. The whole estate had multiple wings, but Lucy stayed overnight on occasion in a guest suite to help with Michael. Charlotte burst into the suite, jolting Lucy awake. Carefully placing a fussing Michael in Lucy's arms, she whispered, I just overheard Bianca blackmailing Adrian. She has documents. Hush money, secret deals, it's worse than we thought. Lucy's eyes flew open wide. Are you sure? She stammered. Charlotte felt tears of anger prick her eyes. I'm sure. She's threatening to expose everything unless Adrian pays her off. This could destroy the foundation, Lucy. They stared at each other, processing the scale of the impending disaster. What are we going to do? Lucy finally asked, bouncing Michael gently to calm his whimpers. Charlotte's mind raced. We need those documents. If we can confirm their authenticity, we can decide our next move. If Adrian's done something illegal, I won't let the foundation sink with him. Michael's future depends on it. Lucy nodded, face pale. I can gather a legal team, trusted allies, but we have to act fast. If Bianca decides to leak everything tomorrow, Charlotte shuddered, imagining the tabloids. She thought of Christopher. He had both legal and financial resources that might help. She also dreaded bringing him into more chaos, but time was of the essence. Contact. Christopher, she said, her voice trembling with resolve. Ask if he can come by tomorrow morning. We'll sort this out, Lucy. I won't let Adrian's mistakes tear down everything we've built. That night, Charlotte slept little. She dozed fitfully in a chair beside Michael's crib, jolting awake at the slightest sound. Her dreams were fraught with images of betrayal, headlines screaming Blackwood Empire falls, or Charlotte's foundation in ruins. She woke with tears in her eyes. Morning broke. Christopher arrived promptly. He wore a casual button-down shirt, a signal he expected a private discussion rather than formal negotiations. His expression turned serious the moment he saw Charlotte's red-rimmed eyes. She led him to a small reading room, Lucy in tow. A hush blanketed the space as she explained everything she overheard. Christopher's face grew grim. "So, Bianca has blackmail material on Adrian?" he asked. "Documents showing hidden accounts, hush contracts, enough to compromise the foundation if it's tied to Adrian," Charlotte nodded. "I'm sure the foundation's finances are partly entangled. We always pooled resources, though I tried to keep philanthropic funds separate. But if he diverted even a fraction of donations to shady deals..." Christopher placed a reassuring hand on hers. "First, we have to find out exactly what's there. We can't act on rumor alone. Lucy, do you know if the staff has any idea about Bianca's rummaging around the mansion or offices?" Lucy pulled out her phone, scanning messages from the household staff. "Some staff say she's visited Adrian's office a lot, digging through files, apparently. But none of them dared confront her." Christopher's expression hardened. "Then we need to confirm those documents' authenticity. Charlotte, you must confront Adrian, tell him you know, demand the truth. We can't move forward without it." Anxiety coiled in Charlotte's stomach. Confrontation with Adrian over this scale of deception felt daunting. But for Michael's future, for the foundation's survival, she would do whatever it took. "I'll do it," she whispered. No more secrets. That evening, Charlotte found Adrian brooding in his study, nursing a half-empty glass of whiskey. The room smelled of leather and stale tension. She shut the door behind her, heart thudding. He looked up, his expression guarded. "We need to talk," she said, stepping forward. He drained his glass, exhaling slowly. "About what?" "About the hush money, the blackmail, the secret deals you tried to keep from me," she said, voice wavering but resolute. "I overheard Bianca threatening you. You've jeopardized everything." Shock flickered across his face, followed by anger. "You were eavesdropping?" he snapped. "You did this to yourself," Charlotte retorted, her voice trembling with bottled fury. "I sacrificed so much for our marriage and the foundation, and you could destroy it all." Adrian set his glass down, pushing himself up from the chair. "I didn't intend for it to go this far," he said, voice laced with frustration. "At first, it was just about boosting our business profile. A few grey areas. Then Bianca showed up, and Charlotte cut him off. "Stop blaming Bianca. You let her in. You gave her access." He looked away, jaw tight. "Yes, I did. And now she wants money to stay silent." Charlotte approached him, eyes blazing. "I can't let you drag the foundation into criminal territory. If there's illegal activity, Adrian, you have to come clean before she does." The gravity of her words sank in. His shoulders sagged. "I never meant to hurt you or the foundation," he murmured. "I wanted success enough to overshadow any competitor, including men like Christopher." But it spiraled. She took a measured breath. "You have one chance to fix this. Hand over every document, every account detail. Let me see it all. If we can isolate the wrongdoing, maybe the foundation can be spared. You might face legal repercussions, but at least the philanthropic work won't collapse." He stared at her, torn between self-preservation and fear. "Do you really think you can salvage what's left?" Charlotte's voice hardened. "With or without you, I will. For Michael." Adrian swallowed. "I'll gather the files. But if I do, you must promise you won't hand me over to the wolves." She hesitated, her conscience at war with her anger. "I'll do what's right, but I'm not shielding you from the consequences of your actions." The following morning, Adrian summoned Charlotte to his study. Loose sheets of paper and USB drives were scattered across the desk. His eyes were bloodshot from lack of sleep. "I gathered everything I could," he said flatly. "Some of it's borderline legal shell companies, questionable donations. Others might be outright illegal. I was desperate to expand fast." Bianca knows bits and pieces. Charlotte's stomach churned as she thumbed through documents showing suspicious wire transfers. Some funds seemed to have originated from Blackwood Foundation accounts, albeit buried under layers of consultancy fees. "This is worse than I imagined." Lucy and Christopher joined them, each meticulously reviewing the data. Christopher's brows furrowed at certain transactions. "If these are philanthropic funds misdirected into private ventures, you're facing major fraud allegations, Adrian," Christopher warned, voice somber. Adrian slumped in his chair, fiddling with his cufflinks. "I realize that now. I'll do whatever I can to rectify it. But Bianca's blackmail is pressing. She might leak her copies at any moment." Lucy glanced up. "If we go public, preemptively reveal the situation and vow accountability, her leverage weakens." Charlotte chewed her lip. "But that also means public humiliation. The foundation will be dragged through the mud." Christopher placed a calming hand on Charlotte's shoulder. "Transparency might be the only way to protect the foundation long-term. A carefully managed confession can position you as the victim of internal mismanagement, though. Adrian, you'll still bear the brunt of the blame." Adrian exhaled shakily. "I'll do it. I can't let everything sink." He managed to glance at Charlotte. "For Michael's sake." She gave a tight nod. "We'll strategize a press conference. Full disclosure, accompanied by immediate corrective measures. Then Bianca's threat becomes empty." They spent hours drafting statements, planning how to address donors and the public. Margaret Choi joined by speakerphone, advising them on legal pitfalls. By day's end, they had a plan risky, but possibly the only route to salvation. Yet, events rarely bow to well-laid plans. The next evening, while the group prepared for the press conference, a scathing article hit a major gossip website. It laid bare partial details of the Blackwood Foundation's questionable finances, enough to stoke scandal, but not enough to confirm everything. The source? An anonymous insider, but the writing style reeked of Bianca. Phones exploded with calls. Donors panicked. Journalists demanded interviews. Social media buzzed with outraged speculation. Had philanthropic donations been stolen? Was Charlotte complicit? Charlotte fought a wave of nausea as she read the article on her phone. "Bianca beat us to the punch, but only partially," she observed, voice trembling. "We can still salvage the narrative if we go fully transparent at once." Margaret agreed over the phone. "Yes, it's better to reveal everything now. Otherwise, you appear to be reacting to a leak." With the clock ticking, Adrian and Charlotte arranged a hasty press conference at the Blackwood estate. Camera crews lined the driveway. Concerned staff bustled around, setting up a podium. Charlotte felt an eerie flashback to her earlier press conference, when she'd tried to distance the foundation from Adrian's personal scandals. Now the stakes were tenfold. Late afternoon sun cast long shadows as Charlotte stood at the podium, flanked by Lucy, Margaret, and Christopher. Adrian hovered slightly behind them, shoulders hunched. Dozens of reporters peppered them with questions, camera flashes bursting like fireworks. Taking a deep breath, Charlotte began, her voice unsteady but clear. "I've called this conference to address the recent allegations regarding the Blackwood Foundation's finances. We have uncovered evidence of financial misconduct within certain investments tied to the foundation. We are committed to full transparency and rectifying any damage done." She explained that an internal audit, led by outside experts, would commence immediately. Donors' funds would be segregated, ensuring no further misappropriation. Then, amid a flurry of flashes, she stepped aside. Adrian approached the microphone, visibly shaken. "I take responsibility," he said, exhaling shakily. "I was the driving force behind those questionable investments. My ambition led to shortcuts and poor judgment. Charlotte is entirely innocent in these matters. The foundation remains committed to its mission." Reporters shouted questions. "Are you resigning, Mr. Blackwood? Is Charlotte filing for divorce? What role did Bianca Moretti play in this?" Adrian raised a hand for silence. "Effective immediately, I'll step down from all leadership positions within the foundation. Miss Blackwood will assume sole operational authority pending an investigation. Regarding my marriage, that's a personal matter, but we are focused on our infant son's welfare, and Bianca Moretti has no official standing with the foundation." A storm of follow-up questions roared, but Margaret guided them off the podium. They hurried inside, hearts pounding. Margaret offered a forced smile. "You delivered the message. Now we let the public and the media swirl." Charlotte collapsed into a chair, adrenaline leaving her lightheaded. Christopher knelt beside her, concern etched on his face. "You did what needed to be done," he murmured. "This is your chance to rebuild free from his shadow." She nodded numbly, eyes watering. "Finally, the truth is out, but at what cost?" Watching the press conference from her penthouse, Bianca raged. She had hoped her partial leak would force Adrian into quietly paying her off to avoid a bigger scandal. Instead, he'd publicly disowned the affair and pinned the blame on his own mistakes. Now, she held less power over him. "Damn him," she hissed, wineglass trembling in her hand. She dialed Adrian's number, but it went straight to voicemail. Throwing her phone across the couch, she glared at the TV. "Fine. If Adrian wants to sever ties, I'll drag him through the mud even deeper." She posted cryptic tweets suggesting she had more secrets to spill. She contemplated selling her entire trove of documents to the highest bidder. But the press conference had staked out Charlotte's moral high ground. Bianca risked, looking like a desperate ex-flame. Turning to the folder of evidence, she realized her leverage might be worthless if Adrian was already admitting wrongdoing. Unless I can tie Charlotte to it, Bianca thought viciously. If she could twist the narrative to implicate Charlotte as a co-conspirator, she might still cause havoc. She rummaged through her files for anything linking Charlotte to the fraudulent accounts. Days after the press conference, Charlotte faced a barrage of interviews and donor inquiries. Despite the swirl of negative headlines, many philanthropic circles admired her courage to confront the scandal head-on. Some donors even doubled down on their support, trusting Charlotte's integrity. Phoenix Global Tech renewed their intention to partner with the foundation, praising Charlotte's transparency. "We stand with the foundation's mission," Christopher said in a statement. "We're confident in Charlotte's leadership to guide this initiative with honesty and compassion." Behind the scenes, Adrian hunkered down in the estate's guest wing, grappling with legal forms. He resigned from various boards and prepared to face any potential lawsuits. For the first time in a long while, he was quiet, almost humble. Whenever he visited Michael, he approached Charlotte with a subdued deference. One afternoon she found him in the nursery, gently humming a lullaby while Michael cooed in his arms. Despite the anger and betrayal that still lingered, Charlotte felt a pang of sympathy. He was still Michael's father, and something about seeing them like this resonated with her old hopes. Then she reminded herself, sympathy is not forgiveness. Trust is earned, not given. Bianca's search for incriminating material eventually unearthed a single email thread from months ago. In it, Charlotte's name appeared in cursory mention regarding a philanthropic initiative. Could she twist this to make it seem like Charlotte approved shady transactions? She decided to try. She forwarded the email to a notorious gossip blogger, adding a fabricated statement. An inside source claimed Charlotte Blackwood was fully aware of the hush funds and personally authorized them. She used a burner account, hoping to fan the flames. If I can't extort Adrian anymore, I'll destroy the woman he clings to for sympathy. The blogger ran with it. A sensational article emerged. Leaked email suggests Charlotte Blackwood's involvement in foundation fraud. Overnight, social media lit up with debates. Was Charlotte truly innocent or just covering her tracks? Christopher immediately called Charlotte. We know it's fake, but the public might not. We should respond quickly. Lucy, browsing the article, sighed. This is Bianca's handiwork. She's doubling down. Charlotte closed her eyes, her mind flashing back to the countless legitimate philanthropic emails she'd signed. She had never condoned illegal funds, but the public seldom cares about nuance once suspicion is cast. We must produce evidence that I was never part of those dealings, she said. We have the official logs, the memos. Margaret can verify that I never touched or authorized hush money. So they prepared a robust rebuttal, releasing internal email trails showing Charlotte consistently pushing for transparent finances. Adrian added a statement of his own, clarifying Charlotte never sanctioned questionable deals. The blogger faced potential libel suits if they didn't retract. Faced with mounting evidence, they backpedaled, rewording the story as unverified allegations. Though the story cooled, Charlotte's nerves remained frayed. Bianca won't stop until she tears everything apart or benefits from a final payout. Eventually, Bianca discovered her usual tactics were failing. Adrian was no longer paying her. She was blocked from the estate. The Charlotte scandal fizzled. Desperate, she marched into Phoenix Global Tech's lobby one day, hoping to force a confrontation with Christopher, maybe glean hush money from him. She claimed she had vital information to share. Security nearly escorted her out, but Christopher, hearing her name, decided to see her in a private conference room. Bianca sauntered in, flipping her hair. I have evidence that could ruin Adrian and possibly Charlotte if you don't help me, she declared, eyes flashing. Christopher folded his arms. I'm aware of your attempts to smear Charlotte. They're baseless. Now, if you have any legitimate concerns, you can speak to our legal team. Otherwise, you're trespassing. She feigned a pitiful look. Come on, Christopher. Don't you want to protect Charlotte? If you don't pay me, who knows what the tabloids will print next? Christopher's expression turned cold. You underestimated Charlotte. She's already fought off one manufactured scandal, and I won't be extorted by you. Leave, Miss Moretti, before we press charges. Bianca gaped, her bravado crumbling. Security stepped forward, and Christopher calmly signaled them to escort her out. As they led her through the lobby, curious employees watched the once famous socialite being ignominiously removed. Anger flared in her eyes, but behind it flickered desperation. She was out of options. In the weeks that followed, Adrian inched toward a final acceptance of his fate. Legal mediations loomed on the horizon, but with Charlotte's team overseeing the foundation, donors felt reassured. Christopher's medical software partnership moved forward, and Charlotte became a figure of resilience in philanthropic circles. Late one evening, Adrian found Charlotte in the estate's small library, reading to a drowsy Michael. A hush enveloped the room, lamplight casting gentle shadows on the walls. He approached, clearing his throat. She looked up, her expression guarded. Yes? He took a seat on a nearby chair. I'm signing the divorce papers, he said quietly. I have them here. Charlotte's heart twisted. Though she had long expected this, hearing it still felt like a blow. All right, she managed. I think it's time. He nodded, eyes on the floor. I'll provide child support. I want to remain part of Michael's life. though I know you have every reason to keep me away. But I promise, I'll try to be better." She exhaled, nodding. "He deserves a father who puts him first." "Prove it, Adrian." Wordlessly, they exchanged a final look, the echoes of a past life swirling between them. In that glance was regret, sorrow, and perhaps a sliver of relief. Then, with a soft rustle of papers, Adrian placed the signed divorce documents on a nearby table and quietly left. Days turned into weeks. The legal dissolution of Charlotte's marriage to Adrian became a subdued public footnote, dwarfed by the successful launch of the Blackwood Heart Pediatric Initiative. With Christopher's backing, new pediatric centers were set to open in underserved regions, showcasing advanced software to streamline patient care. At the estate, Charlotte no longer Mistress. Adrian Blackwood found a new sense of calm. She had moved her personal belongings from the master suite into a cozy guest suite that felt more like her own space. She oversaw the foundation's daily operations, frequently traveling to meet donors and partner hospitals. Through it all, Michael thrived, surrounded by love and a sense of security, oblivious to the storms he'd survived in infancy. Christopher visited often, though always under the guise of foundation business. Over time, their conversations ventured beyond work, filled with gentle laughter and heartfelt confessions about life's twists. Charlotte remained cautious. Heartbreak had taught her caution, yet she couldn't deny the gravitational pull between them. One afternoon, after finalizing a successful donor meeting, Christopher lingered in the estate's garden. He watched Charlotte, who cradled Michael in her arms, enthralled by the baby's giggles. "You know," Christopher said softly, "I admire your strength. You faced scandal, heartbreak, and still found a way to give everything to this child and the foundation." Charlotte turned, a gentle smile on her lips. "I had help from Lucy, from the staff, and from you." He stepped closer, an unspoken warmth in his gaze. "I'll always be here if you need me," he said, his voice sincere. No pressure, no rush, just support. She looked into his eyes, gratitude welling inside her. In the hush of the garden, the possibility of a renewed love shimmered faintly, no longer overshadowed by guilt or betrayal. "Thank you, Christopher," she whispered. Michael babbled, as if in agreement. They both laughed softly, a shared hope flickering between them, the promise of better tomorrows built on honesty and respect. In the aftermath of these events, the question lingered, what became of Bianca Moretti? For a time, she vanished from society's radar. Then, tabloids reported her hasty departure to Europe, chasing wealthy suitors who might fund her lavish tastes. Rumors surfaced that she tried to sell her blackmail material overseas, but with Adrian's public confession, the documents had little value. Potential benefactors viewed her as a liability. Her one-time beauty and social wiles no longer dazzled. Her tarnished reputation preceded her. Reports trickled back of her bouncing between high-end clubs, sometimes booted out for starting fights. She burned through her savings. In a final stroke of misfortune, an Italian gossip column revealed that her name appeared on an undesirable persons list at multiple luxury resorts banned for life. It read, "The same cunning that once made her a rising socialite now rendered her persona non grata in elite circles." Hard karma, indeed. Months passed. The Blackwood estate transformed into a place of earnest philanthropy rather than hollow ostentation. Charlotte established an official residency in a more modest yet elegant home closer to the foundation's central offices, but she maintained partial ownership of the estate for charity galas and staff housing. Adrian stayed on in a smaller section, with a private arrangement for visits with Michael. Their interactions remained polite, if distant. Through therapy and self-reflection, Charlotte began to shed the residual trauma. She discovered new facets of herself, a resilience forged by adversity, a determination to be a role model for her son. Nights were no longer haunted by regrets over lost love, but illuminated by the possibilities ahead. In quiet moments, she reflected, sometimes you must lose everything you once believed in to gain the life you truly need. Christopher's technology initiative rolled out pilot programs in 3 pediatric hospitals. The results were astounding. Patient wait times cut in half, better tracking of medical records, fewer prescription errors. Families from impoverished areas expressed tearful gratitude at having access to state-of-the-art care. Charlotte, overseeing the philanthropic wing, swelled with pride each time a child's life was saved by the new system. She thought back to the day she had mustered the courage to attend that first gala, pregnant and humiliated, determined to stand her ground. "I never imagined it would lead me here," she mused. Christopher and Charlotte's bond deepened. One evening, after a long day of hospital visits, they shared dinner at her new home. Michael slept in a nearby room, lulled by the gentle hum of the air conditioner. As Charlotte cleared plates, Christopher approached, sliding an arm around her waist. "You've built something incredible," he said quietly. "The scandal, the heartbreak, it all tested you, but you emerged stronger. I admire that more than words can say." She gazed up at him, tears threatening to form. "I learned to survive," she admitted. "Because of Michael, because of the people who believed in me." She paused, heart fluttering. "Because of you, too." In the quiet hush of that moment, they shared a gentle, unhurried kiss, one forged by mutual respect and hard-earned trust. No cameras flashed, no paparazzi lurked. It was a simple, honest connection, a promise of what could be. Over the next few years, the Blackwood Heart Pediatric Initiative became a worldwide model for charitable healthcare. Charlotte's name appeared in respected publications, lauding her resilience and philanthropic genius. Adrian quietly rebuilt his career, minus the reckless ambition. Though he sometimes chafed at Charlotte's new relationship, he placed Michael's happiness above his own ego, a belated sign of growth. In hushed corners of the philanthropic world, people marveled at Charlotte's journey, the betrayed millionaire's wife who rose above scandal to champion children's health. But to Charlotte, it wasn't about sensational headlines. It was about the countless children who now had a fighting chance, about a future unburdened by secrets and regrets, about standing tall as a mother and a leader. As for Bianca, her star vanished as swiftly as it had risen. From time to time, tabloids hinted at her schemes, attempts to stage a comeback via reality TV or desperate couplings with lesser-known rich men. But she never reclaimed the prestige she had once savored. She'd become a cautionary tale, a reminder that living off deceit rarely ends in triumph. At last, Charlotte could breathe freely. The estate that once felt like a gilded cage no longer confined her. In her new home, she rocked Michael in a cozy chair, thinking back on the labyrinth of betrayal, heartbreak, and transformation. The past was a scar permanent, but no longer painful. She'd forged a future grounded in honesty and compassion, and that, she realized, was the best revenge against those who sought to break her. And so ends the whirlwind tale that began with a scandalous gala, a broken marriage, and a brazen mistress. Through betrayal and strife, Charlotte discovered her own inner strength, rising above deception to build a legacy of hope for countless children in need. Adrian faced the consequences of reckless ambition, learning at last to place genuine love for his son above everything else. Bianca, once so sure of her manipulative power, found herself exiled from the very society she had fought so hard to dominate. And in the midst of it all, a new love blossomed for Charlotte, one founded on respect, generosity, and the promise of brighter days. If this story of resilience and redemption gripped your heart and sparked your imagination, please give it a like, share it with friends, and subscribe to the channel. Your support helps bring more extraordinary stories to life, reminding us that even in darkness, light prevails.